the callus of sensation does not become ever more callousous. It's not as though the wound is healing and it's building up defense against its prior vulnerability. But what is happening is that the wound is becoming fresher and trying to maintain itself, because it's not such an issue, the realization that it should be sent off into the realms of general memory. At some time, the build-up, the race between sets and variations of data about sense data, or another approximation of data that then translates into how much or how low one is comprehending or is resonating or adapting with the adaptable. And the rest of the argument will have to be taken to preschools and elementary schools to be completed, because the adult doesn't have that almost innocent conclusion to draw, that it is something else that is more simple and more base, and it's remnants from what you knew once before, a relic of a previous time, a past time, but not a past time or a lost time or a retrievable time. And then that feeling when man remembers how the world was prior to the forms. It's the forms that are dealing in the world, in nature, and not giving credence to this idea about how nature is categorized. It is itself an engine for producing events, and these are more dramatic events. It has the Tao carries that motif continuously, the changing and the ups and downs of any mass activity, community activity. It happens on an individual scale as well. There are changes, these minor extended reframing, reconfiguring of experiences, and these experiences are built up of events, and the event and the experience themselves are interrelated. It's not much credence given to the idea about how the Tao deals with that affair of life. And otherwise, those who are close-minded to this idea will have to develop what is inevitable to them. Is the fact that the world can be opened up and it can be given its due, and there is simply reality first from the ground skill before you get to any level of abstraction. And it's not beneficial to be abstracting in this type of situation, because you lose the detail of the ground, you lose the detail of the immediate. Well, then that's another thought too to grapple with. Could go on to say other things about what the feeling of the Dasein is, and how one could call experience, and then how it becomes, how it displays itself, or how it goes involved, what is the nature of the mind and conflict, and the internal disagreements, the internalizing of decision, the internalizing of choice. The fact that choice is comprehended to be individualistic, to be unique, to be specific to the situation, and to be specific to that time, and that choices would change if even one detail of the moment under question changes. Transform one detail, and you transform a potential choice, and that's what lays beyond. And it's only that man is allowed to speak about what exists in the seams, what exists in the here and now, the seams, and the seams are immediately behind sense perception. That it seems to me as something. It seems to me as something when the mind goes inside to retrieve. Well, it might sound too far-fetched to say the mind goes inside, but using it as only a way of re-scoping, re-attending. In each level of analysis as a sentient being, most of the work is done within the mind. The sense perception, the things that appear to be the same, the objects that occupy the scenes, only occupy the scenes because their corollary, their replicate, and their co-identifiant is stored within the mind. And it's such fast computing that it's not sense, but it must be sense, and reason creates gap, creates an opportunity to sense the distance between recognition and interpretation. Though it might be imperceptible or extremely microscopic. Or speaking about it as a time figure now, it might be very small. Well then, that's another feeling that goes along with having the mind and intuiting aspects of the world. In day-to-day life, you can just feel in certain moments how the rhythm changes from the beginning, from standing next to what type of organism, autotroph or heterotroph, at what time, at where, longitudinally and latitudinally, where, what is the qualitative aspect of the interaction, what amounted from it. There have been moments where there is the invitation, and knowing the difference between these moments that fill the head with lead and these moments that fill the head with what is the buoyancy of the spirit. It's that they weigh, but they're not accounted for in your weight. A great habit is whenever a decision is made that leads on to an unfortunate outcome, the unfortunate outcome is immediately juxtaposed with the decision and who attested and who supported and who justified it. Meaning what line of thought, what line of reasoning, what school of thought justified that decision. And now you are measuring propositions with their base, with their source, and then eliminating lines of thinking based on that result. And how else can it be? Because it's reality that is and then the results that's acquired from reality is what determines how it is these line of thinking are plotted to create a model of the environment. You want a model to be accurate, and then it's a whole lot of testing, a whole lot of editing, and constantly replacing as need be. But each enumeration of repeat, if enumeration of exchange, each one of these moments count as something else that goes away. So meaning that in moments where the output is such that it's unlikely, it is undesired, to put it mildly, then what that means is you have a school of thought that leads on to the output of a certain type of occasion that you do not desire, and you should then try to program or codify your thoughts to produce more of these moments that you desire. So constantly dealing with the omitting and inviting of different and actual occasions. And actual occasions are literally the sections of momentum where man is eventing. He's constantly eventing. That's event, starting with an E and ending with an ing when it's spelled inventing. It's constantly inventing. That's each moment, each second, because there is existential presence. There's the immediate metaphysical to physical reality juxtaposition between in thought now. There is a being with all the identity and characteristics and the uniqueness that's attributed to one, and that being under abstraction is now located in localized personal and local occupied space. Speaking of life world now, but having a while to speak of life force in that way, that it's the area with the being that was just correlated with the call it corresponding with the abstracted form. So then that's in the world again. An obligate intercellular parasite. It requires a host to do its bidding for it, to do its reproduction. That is the weight of certain ideas, call them viruses, parasitic means that occupy the mind of man, and they're taking down lines of actual occasions. I mean, on mass scales. This is when men really put the pedal to the metal, because he takes it to the mainstream. Well, these are grand mistakes, and then these should be more in check because they are more catastrophic by volume, by count. Well, a single man woke up on the bad side of bed, on the wrong side of bed, and he goes on a certain spree, and then you can give him something for that. But when it happens on such a massive scale, when it is happening on such a massive scale, and in fact it's not known, it's not recognized to be what it is, and then where is reprimand to come from? See, these are questions. There are different sorts, and they take a different way of approaching the answer. Well, then that's something to think about. The moments, all the activities or the grand activities that take over the mind, and what to do about them, how to change something about the way they are, and the fact that they should not be occupying expression. And that's a goal to be taken on by everyone and anyone, to speak about things about being in the world. Always trying to really clarify the statement that yours is with you and you are with you, and we're present in the same place. But this same place means something. It's what is trying to be, what is being postulated here. It's that it means something so grand and so, with all the other extremes, exclamation I could attribute to it. It requires such an action to accompany the extended moment. Then that's something to take on. Trying to achieve homeostasis away from equilibrium in a work to recreate the settlement fitted for the type of occupants that are here, that are available. Well, then that's something that continues to happen at this port, at this station, at this digital broadcasting center, and everywhere else where it reaches for it. But here it is explicitly clear. The model could be stated very simply without having to get extended into associated tangents, or call them excursus. It's that this is the world. You can be authentically actualized. You can open up the earth. You can remove what are these constructed demarcations that you've created. And you can start to flourish as such. By virtue of what you are, this is possible. Because we're speaking of the analysis of things that are possible, not things that are impossible, or things that are not practical, or are not achievable. But this is achievable, and it's possible to be accomplished. But you envision it as a fairy tale. You envision it as fiction, but it's not fiction. It's reality. Yours is all and your own. The world, say, in your dominion, in your percentage dominion, is all your own. But eventually there will be systems created. Not even eventually, there are systems created in the world that for some reason this will be a taboo for you to have this epiphany of your birthright. But it's not that deep. It's how nature has organized the story, how the Tao is influencing the individual on the macroscopic twigs and branches of its discharge, how it's influencing the sections of the world differently into different acts, into different beliefs, and then the conflicts that arises between them, or these occasions we call what we'll call them. But these things are achievable. There is the comprehension that awaits, and the world can be transformed instantaneously, as far as men really, he all gathers around the push button in his respective positions, countries, continents, towns, cities, houses. When he gathers there in his armchair, he makes the decision, he makes the rule. He wants the rule, but it's the common interest of trying to relate to the populace that it's the same thing. There's no one against this idea. It's just that the idea hasn't become available for decision making, for evaluation, and for inspection. It's that simple. It's that the world wants to be this thing, which is possible for it. It senses that there is deficiency in my development. There is a cord I'm missing. There is one of my limbs that I can account for on inventory day. Is that the fact that he doesn't claim actualization yet, and it awaits him, and he moves towards it by the means that are such, by the means of this. Now, of course, always speak on and give what accolades to internet and this broadcasting and medium, because it is the re-emergence of the spirit uses it as a hub to be routed to homes, to be routed to minds, and to be routed for inspection, for interrogation, and for testing. When it can be tested out, there doesn't really need to be taken out that literally, because it immediately becomes belief once it's understood clearly what is the state, and then jobs and work will be done here as being an individual as well, under the same or normal or relatable circumstances of life. We'll be doing things along those lines to do the part, to exhibit, to depict, to display, to portray exactly what the thought holds here, and have other opinions on the matter, and have other comment and ponder over this possibility.